If anybody tells you they've never experienced imposter syndrome, they are probably a psychopath. Failure is part of the process. Failure is how you learn and how you grow and how you start to incorporate learnings into your career that make you better. We are working on a project with a major motion picture production company right now. I was in the conversation thinking, like, what do I have to offer?
Hey, I'm Allison Maklick.
Hi, I'm Hannah Bloking, and we are here with 4 Under 3 for another episode of Imposter Talk. Today, we have such an exciting episode because I have the extreme honor of introducing the phenomenal Erica Bartsch. Erica and I know each other because Erica was the person that hired me into my role at Amazon, and she is by far the best manager that I have ever worked for. So it is such an honor to see her trajectory in her career and to talk to her today. So without further ado, Erica, I want to pass it over to you just to quickly introduce yourself. Who are you and how did you get to where you are today?
Hi, I'm Erica Bartsch. Today, I am the Executive Director of Customer Marketing and Advocacy at JPMorgan Payments. My career is kind of an interesting path that I've been on. It's one of those paths where at the time you're going through it, doesn't make any sense. And then you look back and you start to understand, oh, this is why I fell into these things. The stitching of how my career has come together and all made sense the way it does today has just been amazing. So a little bit about me. I have a degree in business journalism. I thought I was going to be a news broadcaster, but I recognized pretty early on, news broadcasters don't make any money. And so I really wanted to make sure that I could use my skill set in a way that honored my passion for storytelling, but that also allowed me to provide for my family. And I naturally fell into customer marketing. So I have built and managed reference programs at companies like Hitachi, at Amazon Web Services, at Google Cloud. And then I also have extended my career into other executive facing programs like EBCs, executive briefing centers, exec sponsorship programs. Was most recently at Stripe, where I led all of their exec marketing efforts. And now coming over to JP Morgan. So now I'm driving customer marketing and advocacy efforts, but looking back on how I've managed our executive facing programs in the sense that, now I'm working with clients who are making purchasing decisions, but I really understand what drives those purchasing decisions because I've spent time with those executives through things like the EBC and through exec sponsorship programs and work backward from their needs to understand how to ask the right questions now that I'm developing marketing materials and how to find storytelling arcs that are really going to help them make decisions. So for me, this is the work that I love to do. I'm exactly where I want to be. And I'm so fortunate to be able to say so.
That is amazing. I love how you were just like, I did this, and I am a badass because of this. That's one thing we hear a lot during these talks is get your talk track down of just establishing this is who I am right at the beginning. And you were a pro at that. So I just wanted to commend you on that. So with your amazing background and Hannah's glowing recommendation of you, have you ever experienced imposter syndrome? What does it mean to you? Do you ever identify with this term that we see all the time on LinkedIn and online?
So I will tell you, if anybody tells you they've never experienced imposter syndrome, they are probably a psychopath. But, always, even today, I still have moments of, am I the best person for this? Or do I know what I'm doing? Or everybody else in the room seems so much smarter than me. Very, very early in my career, I remember being in meetings and not wanting to ask questions or having thoughts that I wanted to contribute, but not being able to find my voice because there was this fear or doubt of saying the wrong thing or looking stupid. And as I've gotten more experience and just more confidence, the confidence that comes with age, it's been balancing that fear and doubt with not caring about failure as much. Failure is part of the process. Failure is how you learn and how you grow and how you start to incorporate learnings into your career that make you better. And so for me, it's one, acknowledging that imposter syndrome exists. And then two, also recognizing that this negative self-talk, it's this fear and self-doubt that has crept into how I'm presenting myself. And so definitely I've always had that in my early career. And today, there are moments when it still creeps in. I've been at JP Morgan only for about 5 months. And my first 2 months were spent talking about like, oh my gosh, how did I even get this job? Like, you know,
So I love that. And one of the resounding themes that we hear from executives is you have to be okay with failure. And a lot of the audience that We're Under Three has are probably like more early stage career. And I think it's really great for them to hear that from executives because they think like earlier stage or mid stage, you have this misconception that people got to where they are because they never failed and they're always perfect. And they always just instinctively know the right thing to say. And I think a lot of knowing the right thing to say is having said the wrong thing or done the wrong thing a lot of times. So you mentioned something really interesting. So you are an executive at JPMC now, and you're looking around and you're like, how did I even get here? So again, like another thing is like executives never feel that way now, and it's just not true. So like, can you tell us an example of maybe a more recent time where you were like, my imposter voice popped up. That's weird. Haven't seen it in a while.
we are working on a project with a major motion picture production company right now. And my colleagues have been working with this company for quite some time. JP Morgan just recently put out a spot. And so we've done quite a bit of co-marketing already with this client. Now, insert me, customer marketing. I am very excited about also working with this client to do some storytelling, very human-centric storytelling about how JP Morgan is empowering them as a business to do more or to focus on the things that they do and allow us to take on a lot of their payment infrastructure needs. But I was in the conversation thinking like, what do I have to offer? Like our co-marketing stakeholders are, they are doing this really cool future forward experiential kind of storytelling. And here I am like, can I do a case study with you? And for me, in that moment, acknowledging that was negative self-talk, that was my imposter syndrome showing its ugly face. That was sort of like the first thing. And then two, and I'll give you kind of, this is an anecdote, like very early in my career, I read Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In. And, that book I think is kind of controversial for lots of reasons. But one thing that I took away from it was, what would you do if you weren't afraid? And I constantly go back to that now that I am in more of an executive facing role. And in that moment, it was like, one, acknowledging the imposter syndrome, two, like, how would I handle this moment if I didn't have this fear? And three, acting as if, right? So I was talking about with a colleague today about this. It's this like alter ego that you almost go to in those moments of self-doubt where you pretend that doesn't exist. And it's harder, I think, in practice than it sounds, but it has carried me through in a lot of moments where I haven't felt like I belonged in the room. So in this case, I just went to the things that I knew to be true about how I have been successful in my role in the past. And I was able to represent the opportunity, represent the benefits of working with my team and with JP Morgan on an opportunity like this. And it went amazingly well. And I think if you look back, if you asked anybody else on the call, no one knew that I was having that experience in the moment. And that I think is true almost universally anytime something like this happens. And I always tell the more junior folks on my team that I mentored today, nobody knows that you're not the smartest person in the room. So pretend that you are. And the confidence that will come from that is just amazing. I'll tell you one more thing. I have a 10-year-old daughter, Baylor, and Baylor plays soccer. And she is like a defensive she plays center back, which is like the last defender on the team, but she's also the sweetest girl in the entire world. And so I'm chatting with her and working with her coach. We've had to come up with an alter ego for her named Bailey. So today, Bailey is the bruiser that goes out on the field and knocks people down and doesn't let anybody take that ball away from her. Before every game, she puts red lipstick on, she puts her high ponytail on, and she becomes Bailey, and she goes out and crushes it on the field. She's actually made it to her premier bracket of her soccer team because she's been able to naturally channel this alter ego. And then she comes home and she's, sweet Baylor again, like my sweet girl that doesn't fight with anybody. And so I take a lot of inspiration from that. I think just as she's learning from me, I am also learning from her how to take fear, how to take doubt and channel it into something that's really productive to allow you to become a better version of yourself.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I'm getting like emotional. Hannah and I both have daughters too. And so I'm thinking for baby, our little girl, I'm like, okay, let's go. Like, what could hers be? She's only 2. She turns 2 today. Today's her birthday. But I love that so much. Thank you for sharing. Oh my gosh. Woo. Okay. You have shared so much. Like, failure is part of the process. What would you do if you're not afraid? Have your own Bailey, all these different nuggets with us. What would be your number one takeaway for someone listening who maybe has never even thought about all these concepts, negative self-talk, things like that? What's the most impactful thing for you if you had to choose it, just one?
I think I would say that fear has the ability to make you be a lesser version of yourself. So the number one thing that you can do to address fear is to think about all of the accomplishments that have made you the incredible person that you are. And in those moments when you are experiencing fear or self-doubt, choose to celebrate your successes instead. It's so hard, but it can be amazingly impactful for how you view yourself, how you present yourself in a group of people. Like, belief is that number one thing that can just change the whole tone of how you're approaching imposter syndrome.
Allison, can you see now why I introduced Erica as the best manager I've ever had?
Yeah. I'm even thinking like stepping into this new manager role. I'm like, okay, I want to be like Erica. My mentor too. This is amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
So this has been such a great discussion. Thank you so much, Erica. It was such a pleasure to have you. And anybody that listens to this is lucky to hear from you.
Thanks for having me. So nice to chat with you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Imposter Talks.
Subscribe, like, and review our podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And please follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube at 4under3.
And we want to hear your imposter story. If you're interested in being a guest, please email us at info@4under3.io. Thanks so much.